Thanks, Sophie. Coming up this evening, drivers of electric vehicles in central London will have to pay the congestion charge for the first time as the daily rate increases for all motorists. Some businesses say they can't afford it.
It'll just be a diesel van that will go into the London zone if that's what we need to do, because actually we don't have the same incentives that we had to put an EV in there.
Transport bosses say the changes are needed to tackle congestion. Also on the programme.
Well, the temperature has fallen and there is an Arctic chill on the way. So how is the capital preparing? I'll have all the details.
One father's frustration after his disabled son was turned away from a bus because the space for wheelchairs was blocked by buggies. We'll have the full story. Plus,
when it comes to discovering the wonders of nature, there really is no place like home.
Getting wild in the wetlands, we find out from Londoners about their favourite wildlife spots as Sir David Attenborough's new documentary explores nature in the capital. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sonia Jessup. As many of us get back to work after the new year, some drivers and businesses are facing an extra expense. From today, and for the first time, those with an electric vehicle will have to pay the congestion charge. And for most other drivers, the charge has also gone up for the first time in 5 years. Transport bosses say it's needed to manage the traffic on the roads, but it's not been welcomed by all Londoners. Bryony Williams has more from Regent's Park. Bryony.
Yes, I've been speaking to a plumbing business in southwest London who invested in a fleet of electric vans just a few years ago, and from today they're having to pay £9 for every single one of those that comes in to central London. Now they feel like they're being penalised for going greener and they don't know how they're going to absorb those extra costs. Now we're all familiar with the sign, whether you're walking around or driving around. Transport for London did consult on these changes earlier on this year, and we have known that they are coming, and they do emphasise that this is a congestion charge, so it is ultimately getting vehicles out of London, so rather than an emissions charge. But as we've been hearing, I have been speaking to businesses large and small who are impacted by this. If you're driving into central London in an electric vehicle, for the first time since the congestion charge was introduced, you'll now have to pay it. And for some businesses that have electric fleet vehicles in the capital, it's an unwelcome move.
We never expected this to be as big a change as it is, and we didn't budget for it. And I'm sure we're not the only ones that are in that position. And I think that's kind of the concern. Ourselves, companies like ourselves, who are leading the way in deploying EV fleets, are being penalised for doing it. And I think that's the disappointing part, that the electrification is nowhere near completed. It's a long way to go, and I think it's going to slow it down significantly.
The fee covers areas of central London between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays, and at weekends and bank holidays between midday and 6 p.m. And it's not just those in electric cars and vans that are having to fork out more. The charge for non-electrified vehicles has gone up by 20%, so the daily charge has risen from £15 to £18, and for electric cars it's now £13.50. Transport for London says it's imperative the changes have been introduced.
If we did nothing in this space and we didn't had carried on with 100% discount, you're effectively saying that the congestion charge is being phased out, because we're at 20% today. By the end of the year, we'll be at a much higher percentage, and you're going to get more and more congestion in central London, which is not good for the economy. It costs us 7.6 billion per annum nationally, and we have to deal with something about that, really. So, London has a congestion problem, and this is the key tool in managing it.
Communications company Openreach has over 6,000 electric vehicles in its fleet and will now think twice as to whether they'll be used in London.
Diesel are still significantly cheaper to fuel than EVs, which is why the swing is really important in terms of the business case, and why a lot of companies probably taken time to do the investment, but we're leading the ways. I think in terms, for me, it'll just be a diesel van that will go into the London zone if that's what we need to do, because actually we don't have the same incentives that we had to put an EV in there.
The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, argues that the price hikes are the first since 2020 and the tiered discounts for electric vehicles means substantial incentives remain in place for Londoners who switch to cleaner vehicles. But the changes for the congestion charge don't stop this year. There are more to come for residents in 2027. Bryony Williams, BBC London.
Well, lots more to come, including the hunt for our wetlands
Just a second ago,
wildlife.
as we were talking, a kestrel flew overhead and it had a mouse in its claws, and it went to sit on a branch over at that tree over there, and just in time for Andy to get a fantastic shot. Amazing what you can see.
Now, wherever you are in the capital, you don't need us to tell you it's been getting cold, and it's set to get even colder. As we've been hearing, the wintry snap is already being felt as it moves down through the country. Alice is on Primrose Hill this evening. Alice, I expect it's very chilly there. Tell us more.
Sonia, if you stand still for any length of time, you certainly start feeling the cold. I'm on Primrose Hill, as you say, which is pretty exposed. And I can tell you, take my word for it, it's freezing. Now, these low temperatures clearly have set off some sort of response around the capital as we prepare for more to come. Throughout London and the home counties, you can expect to see the gritters out. They already have been, and they will continue to do their work to keep the ice off the roads in the next few days. And whilst there's no Met Office warning for snow, we do know that there is an Arctic chill coming in the next few days with a lowering in the temperatures. So we've been speaking to our weather colleague Jen Bartram about what's to come.
A really cold spell of weather is on the way. We've got Arctic air coming down from the north. It's already with us, and it's going to bring some very low temperatures by day and by night. Now, the good news is it's going to be dry and sunny through Saturday and through Sunday, but it's going to be feeling very cold. What type of temperatures? Well, 2-3 degrees the high through the daytime, but added on a bit of wind chill, it will feel more like -2, -3 Celsius. That's by day. By night, Saturday into Sunday, we could be seeing low temperatures down to -6 degrees Celsius.
So spare a thought for those people who are sleeping rough in the capital. When temperatures fall to zero, the severe weather emergency protocols kick in. That means special emergency services for people who are on the streets. Now, Crisis, the homelessness charity, says their Christmas accommodation services are still running until the 7th of January, and one hotel which provides services for homeless people will carry on until the 21st of January. The British Heart Foundation says that people with heart conditions should take extra precautions when it gets this cold because the heart has to work that bit harder to manage the body's temperature. So their advice, and in fact a good advice for all of us, stay informed and wrap up warm. Sonia.
Alice, thank you, and we'll let you get back in the warm now too. And Jen will be back with the full forecast later in the programme. A father has described his frustration after he said he and his young disabled son were turned away from a bus because 2 buggies were taking up the space for wheelchairs. By law, drivers are required to ask non-disabled passengers to make room for wheelchair users. Transport for London has apologised and says it also wants to remind passengers who takes priority. Our transport correspondent Tom Edwards reports.
There's 2 buggies.
There's 2 buggies there.
Okay.
A wheelchair has priority,
Yes.
but what can I do?
Posted on social media, this is the experience of a dad with his son who uses a wheelchair. They're trying to get a bus.
There's a bus behind. Did you
Okay,
hear that?
but this is a...
The space, though, is blocked by buggies and passengers won't move them.
Can you just put through to control for me, please, and just let control know that there's someone here with a wheelchair?
The bus driver also won't intervene. Legally, wheelchair users should take priority for the space.
It's almost a daily thing when we try and get transport. I mean, we try to avoid transport completely now because, as you can see from that video, I actually request the driver to contact control multiple times. I'm very polite, I'm not rude at all. Even their policy I was following, and the drivers just don't seem to want to follow them themselves. There is some drivers that are very good, but a majority of them just don't want to help, and they just leave the disabled at the bus stops.
Today at Vauxhall, other wheelchair users had similar stories.
I think it's a lack of public understanding, the fact that wheelchair users have the priority in the wheelchair space and it's the only place we can safely travel. Obviously, there are buggies and luggage and many other things that get put in that place. And a lot of the times we can both travel safely together.
I think an element of public awareness and driver training would be great. I think if you're rocking up kind of as a wheelchair user on your own as a young person, it can be really intimidating, and knowing that the driver's got your back or can at least support you in those conversations would be massively helpful.
Campaign groups say it's about raising awareness.
It's only been a few years that every bus in London has been fully accessible, and most bus stops are as well. So actually we're seeing a few tensions with the public not always aware that the wheelchair space is for wheelchair users. Yes, it could be used by prams and buggies if there aren't wheelchair users there, but wheelchair users have priority. So I think really it's just about awareness.
Transport for London is now reminding passengers that legally the wheelchair space is for wheelchair users. It's also introducing more training for drivers.
They're just reminding customers and drivers what that wheelchair space is for wheelchair users, mobility aid users, and they take precedence there.
And the drivers should be doing more? They're your drivers?
They are our drivers. They should be making announcements if people do refuse to leave. They should know how the space is used. We've rolled out equality, diversity and inclusion training to all of our drivers to give them the skills, knowledge and behaviours on how they should be providing an equitable service for all our customers.
The wheelchair has priority.
Yes. TfL says incidents like this fall below its standards, but it also now wants to raise awareness around who takes priority in the wheelchair space on buses. Tom Edwards, BBC London.
Well, time for a brief look at some other news stories now. A 17-year-old boy and a 23-year-old man have been arrested after a fatal stabbing on New Year's Eve. John Temitope Onitufo, who was 23 and from Deptford, was stabbed in the chest. The two men have been arrested on suspicion of murder and remain in police custody. Almost 90% of vehicle thefts reported to the Met are unsolved, the worst performing force in England and Wales, according to data from the House of Commons Library, commissioned by the Liberal Democrats. The Met said it had reduced car crime by almost 15% over the last 8 months. And 5 dogs were rescued from a property in Basildon after a fire that was caused by an overloaded plug socket. Essex County Fire and Rescue Service said 2 people had escaped through an upstairs window. Now, is your Christmas tree still up? It's traditionally time to take down our festive decorations this week, but unfortunately, millions of trees end up in landfill every year. There are alternatives, though, as Layla Hayes has been finding out.
Christmas is over, and many of us will soon be throwing our Christmas trees away.
Happy New Year. Just put it there, it's great. Thank you.
But this London company is doing things differently. All the trees here have been rented and are now being returned until next year.
Just simply rent, water return. You can rent via our website, you pick your dates, come along to one of the hubs and choose your tree, take it home, water it, bring it back, and then it grows on.
The rented trees need to be watered every day and kept away from heat sources like radiators, and customers seem to love them.
We've been doing it about 4 years now, and we just like the idea that it's a bit of a sustainable way to, instead of just getting a tree for a couple of weeks and then tossing it out.
The fact that they're growing these in these pots and then can actually plant them to grow into real trees later on is fantastic.
We love Christmas, and we've got a son, so it's the best of both worlds. It's a good lesson for him, it's good role modelling from us. We're really big into sustainability, environmental issues generally. And it's a nice small business.
Around 7 million trees in the UK end up in landfill each year, so the idea of renting a tree is growing in popularity.
Now, of course, you could get an artificial tree, but you'd have to reuse it for many years to get the environmental benefits. And there's no doubt these look and smell much nicer.
The trees can be rented from 4 London sites, including this one in Dulwich, and are then returned to a farm until the following Christmas.
Sometimes people come back and they go, is it really my tree? And we'll get pictures and we'll compare and they'll say, actually it is, it's just grown a little bit. So yeah, people love it.
They are an essential part of Christmas. But if you want your tree to last, this is one way to keep it year after year. Layla Hayes, BBC London.
Now, just before Christmas, we asked you to share your photos of London's wildlife. This falcon was snapped by Sandra after it landed on her windowsill in Enfield. She says it stayed there for 3 hours. Thank you to all of you who got in touch. It comes as Sir David Attenborough's new documentary, Wild London, aired on BBC One last night, revealing how nature is thriving right here in the capital. And there are so many green spaces where you can spot wildlife, as Anna O'Neill has been finding out.
Wild London as you've probably never seen it before. A David Attenborough special broadcast New Year's Day all about the capital's wildlife, and which seems to have delighted Londoners.
We watched it last night on New Year's Day, and it was just amazing to see so many different parts of London on screen, and also to see David Attenborough's love for London, I think. I think when you think of London, you think about sort of the urban side of it, and it was really brilliant to see all the animals.
The foxes and the cubs particularly. Yeah, it was amazing seeing the mum look after the cubs, and then they go out and they go and find their way through a busy London.
Here at Walthamstow Wetlands, visitors have been appreciating nature with renewed gusto today after watching.
I love London a lot, and I am a Londoner. But the only way you can survive in London is by also being able to feel like you're not entirely in London all the time. And places like this, and we're lucky to live down the road, are really beautiful.
Managing 36 nature reserves across the capital, London Wildlife Trust works on not just conserving but encouraging nature to keep a home in the urban landscape.
You probably hear people talk about nature conservation, and that before has very much been sort of nature reserves and not losing wildlife. And nature recovery is a term we use now to say actually we need to bring nature back. It's not good enough just to conserve the nature we have, we need to make more space for nature.
An army of volunteers helps to keep this nature reserve going. And one of them is also a keen wildlife photographer.
Just being out in the light and this amazing sky and the birds that we see here. Yeah, and also we get a great variety of people because we're stuck in the middle of millions of people, and we get all of the local communities come in, and it's lovely.
Well, it was so exciting. Just a second ago, a kestrel flew overhead. I saw it and it had a mouse in its claw, and it flew over onto the tree over there, just in time for Andy to catch a fantastic glimpse of it. In fact, is that it back again, Andy? At the back?
Yeah, it seems to be coming round the back. Yeah.
Amazing.
And here are the shots that Andy took of that kestrel eating a London mouse, not for the faint-hearted. Wildlife lovers will hope that this latest Attenborough documentary will help the country see how the urban landscape and the natural world can grow together in the capital.
I think that's one of the really nice messages from the documentary, actually. So you've got these amazing scenes of wildlife in there, but also those links with people. For me, that's one of the really lovely things about urban wildlife and wildlife in cities, just that relationship between people and nature. We can't do without each other.
Anna O'Neill, BBC London.
Well, still to come this evening. Looking back at Hampstead Heath ski jump, made possible with a gift of snow all the way from Norway. Well, before we get to that, it's been a busy time for the capital's football clubs over Christmas and New Year, and with more games over the weekend, here's Nick Godwin with what you need to know on all the big matches.
Well, the festive season may be dying down, but there's no shortage of live football on BBC Radio London this weekend. We're on air at 2 o'clock tomorrow and on Sunday. Tomorrow, West Ham's trip to Wolves, a huge game in the Premier League, is going to be live on 94.9 FM, DAB Digital Radio and on BBC Sounds. Then on Sunday, Crystal Palace go to Newcastle. That'll be on FM and on BBC Sounds as well, while Brentford travel to Everton. That'll be on DAB digital radio, and all of those matches will be available for you to listen to, plus Tottenham against Sunderland on the BBC Sport website.
Meanwhile, former Fulham defender Liam Rosenior has emerged as the leading candidate to become the new Chelsea manager. The Blues sacked Enzo Maresca yesterday, despite winning 2 trophies in the Italian's first season in charge. The club now seeks its 5th manager in 4 years. Chris Slegg has more.
New year, old problem, as Chelsea and manager part ways. Enzo Maresca seemingly provoked his P45 with this apparent pop at the club's owners 3 weeks ago.
The last 48 hours has been the worst 48 hours since I joined the club, because many people didn't support us.
World champions is the banner that adorns Stamford Bridge. Enzo Maresca, the manager who led Chelsea to that title in the USA last summer, having already won the Conference League and qualified Chelsea for this season's Champions League. It wasn't enough to prevent a falling out with the board, so Chelsea move on to their 5th permanent manager since the owners took charge in 2022. The inexperienced Liam Rosenior, currently manager at Strasbourg, is a leading contender. His French club and Chelsea are both owned by the same consortium. Stints at Derby and Hull represent his only previous roles.
Even against the bottom teams, if you don't play well, you can get done. If you make mistakes, you will get done. So to bring in somebody who hasn't got that amount of experience is a massive chance to take.
It looks like it will be Senior. It's hard to think who else it will be. They'll want someone who they can appoint quickly and cheaply, and he fits the bill. He's also impressed at Strasbourg.
An expectant fan base is far from convinced.
Bringing in Liam Rosenior would be an absolute mistake. He's coached nobody.
I think he will do a good job. I know he doesn't have much of that experience so far, but he's been doing a good job at Strasbourg.
It's going to be tough. I don't think it's the right guy right now.
For now, Chelsea under-21 boss Callum McFarlane takes charge of Sunday's game at Manchester City.
It's been a crazy 24 hours, a whirlwind as you can imagine, but also really enjoyable and really exciting. So I can only feel positive about it. It's an amazing experience. Yeah.
For Chelsea, it's all change once more. Chris Slegg, BBC London.
Now, if you were a bit disappointed to not have more snow in London overnight, we might have a bit of a treat for you, because back in 1950, the residents of Hampstead didn't let the lack of white stuff falling from the sky prevent them taking part in some winter sports. A group of Norwegians organised a ski jumping competition. Yes, you did hear that right, on the heath with tons of imported snow. Harry Craig explains.
Scenes like this will be a familiar sight on TV screens during the Winter Olympics in February. But this isn't Norway or the Alps. This is London's Hampstead Heath.
For one weekend in March 1950, this exact spot became home to an 18-metre tall ski jumping hill.
Something new in London history comes to the heights of Hampstead Heath.
Much like today, snow was a rarity in London, so 45 tonnes of the white stuff had to be imported from Norway. The slope was carpeted in straw, dry ice and a 10-centimetre layer of snow, with a pile of straw at the bottom to cushion the landing. Former British alpine skier Ingrid Kristofferson remembers her father commentating on the event and says the setup of the jump made it particularly risky.
What worries me when I see it is the very narrow run out, because you couldn't really land on the scaffolding if there was any wind and they were moved. That would have been quite a tragedy.
Ingrid grew up in Norway and points out the oddity of the Norwegians organising such an event in London in the early 1950s.
This surprises me that Norway not only had the money, but they had the energy to send 40 tonnes of snow to London and send a troop of Norwegian ski jumpers. Norway was on its knees.
The jump returned to Hampstead Heath in 1951. Sadly, it was a washout amidst the wettest start to the year in 80 years, although Arne Hurl returned to defend his title and fly 35.5 metres.
This would prove to be the last time ski jumping came to Hampstead Heath, but not the last time it came to London.
And here's a scene that would make any cup final goalkeeper green with envy.
In June 1961, 40 of the world's best jumpers competed at Wembley Stadium. A 46-metre-high scaffolding tower was constructed, with Finland's 1964 Olympic champion Veikko Kankkunen taking victory. For now, the TV screen will have to suffice for Londoners to catch a glimpse of ski jumping this winter. But who knows? Perhaps February's Winter Olympics will prompt a return to the capital for this wild winter sport. Harry Craig, BBC London.
Amazing, but also terrifying. Jen Bartram's back with the weather. We've had snow, not enough for ski jumping though.
No, and we just had a slight dusting of it, but we definitely have got those chilly temperatures, which could be decent for ski jumping if you had that kind of thing. This is about as much as we got this morning. This was in Kingston earlier on, just a small dusting, but most of us have had a dry, bright day with plenty of blue skies, and that's what we'll keep as we head through the course of the weekend. So this is the headline then. It's going to be staying dry and sunny, but really the story is about just how cold it's going to be. A real frost over the next couple of days. This is what's happening. We've been bringing all of this air down from the Arctic over the last 24 hours or so. Really very chilly direction, and of course that's having an impact on our temperatures. Now there's not much to see on the map because we've got clear skies, so clear skies by night at this time of year means those temperatures will be falling away. How low? -2 to -4 degrees Celsius overnight tonight. That means Saturday morning we'll start off with a sharp frost, a really chilly start, but plenty of those blue skies once again. It's going to be a lovely day out and about. Feeling chilly though, these are the top temperatures in the afternoon, 2 or 3 degrees. Adding on the strength of the wind, even though it's just a generally light breeze, more like -4 degrees. That's how it's going to feel through the afternoon on Saturday. Let's have a look at Saturday night then. Again, not much to see, not really a lot of cloud around through the night. Clear skies, just a fairly light to moderate breeze coming in from the northwest. And these are the overnight temperatures Saturday into Sunday. -4, -5, possibly -6 degrees Celsius. So a really bitterly cold start to Sunday morning, but once again, lots of sunshine. It's going to be a fairly pleasant day out there if you can bear the cold. Staying chilly throughout the afternoon on Sunday, those temperatures once again 2 or 3 degrees. Adding in the wind, it is going to be feeling more like freezing. How long is it going to last? Well, that's the question. Over the start of next week, it is going to be staying cold, 2 or 3 degrees Celsius. It gets a little bit milder by the end of the week.
Thanks, Jen. That's about it from us. Lots more on our website. Have a very good evening. Wrap up warm. Bye-bye.